You have never fallen for any of this. You would notice. You can hear a pitch coming. You have never been talked into anything. And the people who get manipulated are simply less careful than you are. Everyone who has been manipulated felt exactly like that, right up until afterwards. There are 15 tactics on this list. 14 of them work on you. The 15th is the famous one, and it does not. They are grouped by who uses them. 7 exist to get you to say yes. 2 use other people against you. 5 are used by people who say they love you. 1 is folklore. Worth saying before we start. Individually, most of these are modest. They shift the odds. They do not control you. By the end, you will be able to name the one being used on you while it is still happening. It started with 2 minutes. Someone asked for 2 minutes, and 2 minutes is nothing, so you said yes. 3 weeks later, you are running the thing, and you cannot locate the moment you agreed to that. That is foot in the door. The small request was never the request. It was the audition, and you passed it without knowing you were being auditioned. Saying yes to something tiny quietly edits how you see yourself. You become, in your own records, the sort of person who helps with this. The second request is not argued against your reluctance. It is argued against your own precedent. In the original study, homeowners who agreed to display a small "Drive Safely" sticker were far likelier, weeks later, to allow an enormous ugly billboard on their front lawn. Meta-analytically, the effect is small, around 0.1. Small, but reliable. The tell is the size mismatch. Ask whether you would have agreed to today's request cold, with no history behind it. If not, you never agreed to it. You agreed to 2 minutes, and got carried the rest of the way. They asked for something absurd. The whole weekend, the entire budget, a favor that would eat your month. You say no, and saying no makes you feel slightly cheap. Then they come back smaller. Door in the face. The first request was not a request. It was there to be refused, so the second one could arrive looking like a compromise you owe them. They moved, and movement demands movement. Their retreat reads as a concession, and a concession asks for one back. The second ask is not measured against what it costs you. It is measured against the first ask. It holds up. A direct replication 45 years after the original reproduced the effect. But the meta-analysis of the first 35 years found something the popular version always leaves out. It reliably moves what people say. It does not reliably move what people do. Verbal compliance shifted, behavioral compliance did not. So there are 2 tells. The ask you refused was suspiciously large, and your yes was suspiciously quick. You agreed at 40. At the checkout it is 58, because of fees nobody mentioned. You are annoyed. You can see exactly what has happened, and you pay it anyway. Lowball. You are not being sold the deal you were quoted. You are being sold the deal you have already accepted. The commitment happens first, and it is the commitment that holds you. Once the decision is made, unmaking it costs more than absorbing the change. So the terms are free to move afterwards, and they do. The meta-analysis, 23 studies, nearly 5,000 people, puts compliance around 54% under lowball, against 33 in controls. One of the sturdier effects here. The tell. The terms moved after your yes, never before it. The first number in the room was theirs. 8,000. Everything you say after that is a small adjustment to 8,000, including the number you had already written down before you walked in. Anchoring. The first figure said out loud bends every figure after it, even when it is transparently arbitrary, and even when you know it is arbitrary and are actively trying not to be moved by it. This one needs no hedging. It replicates across pricing, negotiation, property appraisal, criminal sentencing, auction bidding, and plain guesswork. The tell. Your counteroffer is a percentage of their number. It should have been a number of your own. You have already come this far. Someone says it out loud, the money spent, the years in, the effort you cannot get back, and it lands on you like an argument for continuing. Sunk cost. As a bias inside your own head, it has its own video. Here it matters because other people say it to you on purpose. You are not protecting the money. You are protecting your record of having been right. The tell. Every reason offered is about the past. Someone quotes you a price in a strange unit, or garbles a word, or says something that does not quite parse. There is half a second where you are simply confused. Then they give you a reason, and you agree. Disrupt, then reframe. The confusion is not a mistake in the pitch. The confusion is the pitch. Scrutiny is not always running. A small wobble suspends it for about a second, and the reason walks in through the gap, while nobody is checking the door. In the original study, the line was, "The price is 300 pennies. I mean, $3. It's a bargain." Sales went up. Saying it's a bargain without the penny wobble did nothing at all. Meta-analytically, that is around 0.28, roughly triple foot in the door, and the largest effect on this list, from the one technique almost nobody has heard of, the tell, an odd unit or a verbal stumble, followed immediately by a reason. Your stomach drops. The subject line, the flashing lights, the tone in somebody's voice. Then it turns out to be nothing. And in the 90 seconds after that, you agree to something you would normally have thought about. Fear, then relief. Not the fear, the relief. The compliance does not live in the fright. It lives in the moment the fright is taken away. Coming down off a scare leaves you briefly mindless. Not stupid, just not running the usual checks. You are not evaluating the request. You are still finishing being frightened. The classic version used jaywalkers who heard a police whistle, felt the drop, then realized somebody was messing about. Approached right afterwards, they filled in questionnaires and donated at much higher rates. 5 experiments, 4 in the field, 1 in the lab. The tell is timing, not content. Notice what gets asked of you in the 2 minutes after a false alarm. Bad news that turns out fine, followed immediately by a request, is a shape worth clocking. Everyone in the room has agreed to something you can see is wrong. You have the objection fully formed, in words, ready to go. You look around the table once, and you keep it. Social proof, or plainly, conformity. The other people are not evidence, but they are being treated as evidence by a part of you that does not consult you first. This is real and heavily replicated. One meta-analysis covers 133 studies across 17 countries. It is also conditional. It varies by culture, by group size, and above all by unanimity. The popular framing overstates it. Unanimity is the load-bearing part. One other dissenting voice collapses most of the effect. So the tell is whether the agreement is genuinely unanimous, or merely loud, or simply first. Someone with a lanyard tells you to move, and you move. Someone with a title says the process requires it, and you comply first and query afterwards, if you ever query it at all. Authority. The instruction does not have to be reasonable. It has to come from somebody who appears entitled to give it. Entitlement is signaled cheaply. A badge, a job title, a clipboard, a particular tone of voice. None of those are competence. They are costume, and the compliance has already happened before you check. You are expecting Milgram here. The honest version is more interesting. A partial replication in 2009 had 70% continuing past 150 volts, but it removed the most distressing conditions, which critics say changed what was being measured. And a reanalysis of an unpublished test from Milgram's own lab found that people who fully believed the shocks were real gave lower ones, in 18 of 23 variations. Obedience is real. The famous study is less settled. The tell. Ask what their authority is actually over. Now the one you have been told about, which does not work. It has the largest cultural footprint of anything on this list and the thinnest evidence behind it. And that gap is exactly why the 14 above it are worth your attention. Negging. The backhanded insult, aimed at knocking somebody's confidence down so they start seeking your approval. Everybody has heard of it. No large-scale field experiment shows that it works. A 2023 analysis of pickup strategies found no empirical support for it, and research on backhanded compliments, its entire mechanism, finds they backfire, lowering the speaker's likability, competence, and influence. The techniques that work are boring ones. Now the tone changes. Everything above is commerce. What follows is used by people who are close to you. 3 weeks in, and it is paragraphs at 3 in the morning, next year already planned, a certainty about you that nobody could have earned yet. Love bombing. Overwhelming affection at a speed that skips every ordinary stage. And the speed is the point, because devotion that arrives before information leaves you holding a debt and no information. One study of 484 young adults found love bombing behaviors linked to narcissistic traits and insecure attachment, and negatively to self-esteem. Correlational, self-report, a student sample, linked to, not caused by, and not a diagnosis of anyone's ex. The tell, the devotion is running ahead of the knowledge. There was a good week. Then 3 days of one-word replies for no reason you can find. Then warmth again, as if nothing had happened. You have started reading messages for temperature before you read them for content. Intermittent reinforcement. Warmth, withdrawal, warmth, on a schedule you cannot predict. The unpredictability is not a side effect of it. It is the mechanism, and a reliably warm person does not produce this grip at all. That schedule structure also runs your phone, and it has its own video. The reinforcement science is solid. The dopamine commentary usually layered on top of it is not. The tell. You cannot predict which version arrives, and you have started behaving to earn the warm one. Something happened, and now there is nothing. No argument, no shouting, no acknowledgement that you are in the room. Within a day you are apologizing, partly for the original thing, mostly for the silence itself. The silent treatment. Withdrawal of acknowledgement, used as a penalty. Exclusion registers in brain systems that overlap with those handling physical pain. Overlapping activation is what was actually found, and even that reading is contested. What being ignored does to you has an entire video of its own. You describe something that happened. They tell you it did not. Not angrily, patiently, with some concern about your memory. Afterwards you go and check your own notes, and later you check them a second time. Gaslighting. Not lying, exactly. The target is not the fact. The target is your confidence in your own perception of the fact. The sociological research on this is sharper than the popular version. It found that gaslighting works by mobilizing power that already exists: money, immigration status, institutional standing, stereotypes about who counts as credible. It is not a parlor trick that works in a vacuum, which gives you a usable tell, and it is not simply disagreeing about facts. People misremember constantly. This is a repeated pattern, aimed at your judgment, run by someone holding something you cannot easily walk away from. You raise something. Within a minute they have denied it, told you what raising it says about you, and arrived somewhere new. They are hurt. You are cruel, and you are the one apologizing. DARVO. Deny, attack, and reverse the roles of victim and offender. It has a name because it runs in that order, almost every time, almost word for word. The reversal is the load-bearing step. Denial gets the fact off the table, the attack makes raising it expensive, and the reversal converts your complaint into their injury. You end the conversation defending yourself about something you brought up. In experiments, people shown a DARVO response rated the accuser as less believable and more responsible, and the accused as less abusive. The same work indicates the effect is reduced by knowing about it. The tell is the arrival point. You came with one thing and left holding an apology. One thing covers most of this list, and it is not being clever. Every technique in the first 2 acts needs an answer now. Not this week. Now, in the room, before you have had a night with it. Foot in the door needs your yes before you have thought. Lowball needs you committed before the terms move. Disrupt then reframe needs 1 second. Fear then relief needs the 90 seconds after the scare. Anchoring needs you to answer a number with a number. None of them survive being told tomorrow. And for the last act, where a delay is not enough, the defense is the naming itself. The DARVO work indicates that education reduces the effect. That is the entire reason a list like this exists. So, you have never fallen for any of this, and you would notice. That is exactly what it feels like from inside, which is why the list is the thing worth having, and the confidence is not. 15 tactics. 14 of them work on you, modestly, conditionally, and now with names you can say out loud while they are happening. The 15th is the famous one, and it still does not work.